First of all, what was your gut instinct when your alarm clock rang this morning, or did you not need one?
Well, my gut instinct was that the past week has been a pretty good week for Kamala Harris and a pretty bad week for Donald Trump. So my gut instinct was that Harris was in a stronger position than she was a week ago. Whether that will be strong enough, I can't tell you.
But gut instincts change throughout the day, I've noticed.
Yeah, mine hasn't changed today. That's probably because I've just been looking at the same numbers I was looking at last night.
Right. What's going on with democracy in America?
Well, I can describe it very simply. Through a period of historical evolution now that's gone on for a full generation, the United States is both closely divided and deeply divided. And it turns out that that is a very bad combination for trying to govern effectively in a system of checks and balances, not a parliamentary system where if you win everything.
What is that about? Is that just sheer luck that you have people on the divide, if you will, on both sides that are roughly even? Is it an institutional problem with this Constitution that's sometimes difficult to explain, drawn up in the 18th century? What's it about?
Well, in part, it's about deep cleavages on issues ranging from economics to culture that have developed and widened over the period of generation. It's also the case that both parties have gotten increasingly good at slicing and dicing the electorate. So
they call micro-targeting?
Exactly, to get as close to a majority as possible. And so the technology of politics has helped contribute to the narrowing of the gap between the two parties. But in part, it's because of our system that has divided the country into states whose total electoral votes are pretty evenly balanced. I can remember in a close election that I remember, the first one that I remember of 1960, 35 states were swing states. Most of the country was within a very narrow margin. Now we have some states that are very Republican, some states that are very Democratic, and just a handful that are truly contested. And that's one of the things that's made the elections so close.
Yeah, and those political parties are changing. You mentioned the 1960s. It was a time when the Democratic Party had a stronghold in the South, and there was a sort of a generational change, perhaps even a change of more than a century, where the allegiances flipped. A half century later, I ask, could allegiances flip again? Are we seeing some kind of redrawing of the political map, or did it already happen in 2016?
It didn't start to happen in 2016. It was accelerated in 2016, but it hasn't stopped. And previously, you could talk about this in regional terms. Now you need to talk about it in class terms. Increasingly, highly educated people are gravitating towards the Democratic Party. People without college educations are heading quickly towards the Republican Party. And as we've learned from politics, not just in the United States, but all over the Democratic West, a college education comes with a particular set of outlooks, willingness to deal with diversity, willingness to deal with change, a preference for urban life, and increasingly people without college educations are less comfortable with diversity, less comfortable with change, and less comfortable with urban life. And so you see an urban-rural split, you see an education split, and you see an occupational split. The United States is not distinctive in this respect.
Not distinctive in this respect. One of the questions you asked, and it'll be my last one to you, you're wondering, Donald Trump, people thought, oh, he's finished after 2020. Now you're wondering, can he create a multi-ethnic working class party?
This is the great question, because the Republicans shifted to being a party of educated white people to a party of less educated white people. But white working class voters are not a majority in the country, and they keep on shrinking as a share of the population. What Donald Trump is trying to do is to create within the Republican Party a working class coalition across ethnic and racial lines. If he succeeds in doing that, and this election will be a test of that, though maybe not the last test, then he will have completely reconfigured American politics, and this will be the new axis of division for the next generation.
And like you say, perhaps something that will influence as well the politics of Europe and beyond. William A.Galston, thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure.
And we're going to be